Now we're ready to start the final assembly. I'm going to assemble it a little bit differently than I've done it before. The order of the things anyway. I'm going to put the wheel plate on first, that's normally the way I do it. And also the carriage idler on one end, that's this part right here. And I'd print out a copy of this whole assembly to help you guide this, or you can just view it on your tablet, which works for you. And for putting this wheel plate on the extrusions, all we need are 6 M5 by 12 millimeter screws with T-nuts, and this idler has M5 by 16 millimeter screws on it. I'm going to show you how to use just a regular 2060 V-slot extrusion and also the 3D printed one, so you can see the difference between the two, which you prefer. These are 3D printed plastic parts, which you could also use some corners that you can buy. But I prefer these because I get these the right height for the screws. These are sized for M5 by 10 millimeter screws. The T-nuts on this 3D printed one are M5 by 12 millimeter screws. So I've sized the holes of these depth for about 4.5 millimeters, so that keeps it away from the inside and then bear into the inside of the V-slot. Some of the ones you buy, you might get it's difficult to get the right size screw and not hit the back of the V-slot and tear into it. Alright, let's get started. So I've got these end caps on. These V-slots I put not bearings. I put BBs in. I've got this 6,000 count. I think it was about, by the weight of them, came out to about 1,500 per V-slot cavity. And I made a little funnel, and I'll put that on the website in case you really want to put bearings. And they're kind of optional. That's just something I wanted to try and see if the weight difference made a difference. It does make it a little more difficult to assemble this, because you got to assemble it, the wheel plates on there vertically instead of horizontally, because it's otherwise the BBs would fall out. So, and I'll mark these. This is the back. And we have quite a few of these T-nuts to put in for these, all these other parts, the electronics, the motor mounts, and the bearings around the M8 rod in the middle. But we'll add them before we put the other wheel plate on. Actually, let's see. Might be easier to put them. Let's put a couple of screws in here temporarily just to hold this in place, and we'll. No better way to do this. Sorry. So one of these T-nuts is going to go on the inside bottom for the main plate. This right there, and make sure you put them the correct way. That wants to go against the back. Some of them, these won't go the other way. So. And then one on each side. And I'll put that on here. I just put one in here temporarily. If you're not using the BBs, you don't have to do this. You don't need those end caps on there. So you could just put the T-nuts in from the other side. So I'm just going to put one on there. Should be enough. And this is the side I'm going to take off for this. I kind of used a Sharpie to mark it the way I had stuff before, so I won't have to line stuff up so easy. So I'm just going to put one on there. Should be enough. And this is the side I want to take off for this. I kind of used a Sharpie to mark it the way I had stuff before, so I won't have to line stuff up so easy. So I'm just going to put one on there. Should be enough. wanted to line it up so difficult. To make it easier. And you could add some more BBs here if you wanted to. I think there's enough in there. And of course these V-slots are tapped on both sides. If you're, you only necessarily need to do one of the V-slots to hold this idler bearing on each end for the carriage. Alright, now we can turn it upside down so the T-nuts come back to the right spot, so we don't have to work at it. So the ones on the side should be the correct, it's just the correct spot. Oh, did I not put one in there? Huh. I put them in the, I didn't put them on that, on the front. It's easy to miss something. Alright, one goes there, one goes on the inside, goes on the inside bottom. Wrong way. Screw in the view right. Okay, try this again. Turn it upside down, or if you don't have the BBs in there, you don't have to worry about that. I'll just set it there. These should be lined up just perfectly with the T-nuts. And putting those screws in the end also gives you, keeps the V-slot right up against, butts it right up against that plastic part, so you know it's all the way at the end. So these other ones will, see if we can get this to work like this. Now let's pull those other two T-nuts out. Just pull them back out. Just turn that so they come out. I'll turn it upside down. And we'll just move it all the way back, and if we get it flush with the, you can tell when you line it up, just center it on that hole once you get in there. thing is magnetized, so I can't really put it down there correctly. Nice thing about the stainless steel screws is they're not magnetic. I think that one went down all the way. Here we go. One side done. We'll put that on there first. That's the is the back. Is that correct? Yeah. Take that one temporary screw out, so we can take the other one out too. Back over here. And I found that you don't want to screw these all the way in just yet, because it'll kind of help to tighten the belt later, because when you tighten the screw all the way back, it'll kind of pull it back and give you a little bit of tension on the belt. But you don't want to, so I'll tighten it all the way down and pull it back a couple of turns. I just realized that just recently. I think that'll work. I haven't actually tested it yet, but see, it's got a little bit of give to it, so it should pull on it, and then you can tighten it tighten it back, and it should straighten it back up. Alright, now we're going to take the other end caps off and put those V-slots in before we do anything else. It's easier to get those T-nuts on there before you put it in place. At least the 3D printed plastic part came out that way. Let's see, we don't need these anymore. They were just temporary. But you do want to, if you got the BBs in there, you want to make sure you don't accidentally turn this over and start spilling them. So we'll start with this one. So we're going to put a T-nut, and these have one of the plastic ones I've made to have a kind of so you can't turn them, so they only go one way, and the other one goes against the flush against the ends of them. And of course you got to have 4 tapped holes on each one of these. You don't have to tap the middle ones, but the outside ones you're going to have to tap. And we're just going to put the, well, I guess we, I don't know what order matters on this. Let's put them in the V-slot first. So the V-slot groove part goes on the edge here. And you'll need to use these ultra low profile on these screws. And there's not a lot of weight support on these, so I'm just using them M5 by 10 millimeter links into the threading also. So that and you can, this is a 250 millimeter length of this. You really, a 125 millimeter length would be insufficient. for what the parts that I have on there anyway. Because I'm putting the portable power supply on one of them and the motor for the carriage belt on the other. Yeah, it's not going in there right. Let me use a longer screw on that. Yeah, I might have used a smaller length on that. Like I had these 6mm lengths for the caps. That might have been what I did wrong. Let's try. I'm going to put a 12mm length on there. Just so I think a 12 will work. And it's also a low profile. Alright, that one's in there. Now we'll do the other side. Line it up so I can see through the hole before I start it this time. I know I got it lined up right. Alright, and we're going to put the T-nuts on there before sliding in there because it's just easier. I'm not sure you can do it without doing that first. Although that's what I was, well, yeah. Before I was putting all the T-nuts in place with those plastic parts and then trying to get it in there, which turned out to be a little tricky. It did work. Just took I think it took a little more time to do it. I just turn it on there a couple of times so it'll still slide on there but not come off. Hopefully. Hold it in place and just turn it on there a couple of times so it's still got room to fit through the V-slot. And the orientation of this doesn't matter, although I've got some bad spots on this where the bolt is going against the back side, so I'll put that on the bottom side just because of that. So you just want to kind of line these T-nuts in the slot. And it should just slide in once you get it lined up well. There we go, 2 of them in. Other 2 should be easier. There we go. Oops. Oh, I don't want to do. I'm just going to slide it down because I can't turn it sideways because of the bearings. We're just going to slide it down out of the way. Now we do need to put some T-nuts in there before we put this other one in for these 2 parts that hold the bearings that are close to the motor that drives the wheel. So let's at least get those. We need 2 on each side. And there's actually more than that needed, but just to get that other plate in there first, we only need these 2 on this inside. side. Now we can put these in. And these are a little, that's the only part about this part, it's a little tricky to put that in there, but this doesn't really, I only made this little wider brim there just to make it easier for it to hold it when it prints, so it gives it more surface area. These are a little tight to get to these screws in there, you gotta kind of just drop them in, and they pretty much, well, drop right in. Sometimes they don't drop in first time. And then I just kind of hold it with the foot there, put the T-nut on there. And these are M5 by 12 millimeter screws. So you got kind of gravity working for you when you drop it in, like going it this way. Think it went in? Sort of went. There we go. There it goes. Alright, that's two of them on. Do the other side. Here we go. Kind of slowly set it into the hole. See if I can do it without putting the, I don't think I can do it without putting this screw on there. Yeah. Drops right in. Yeah, this is a lot, so far it's a lot easier than last time I did this, in fact, when I had tried to do it in place. And so we got two T-nuts on each side between these two plates already, so we should be alright. It doesn't matter the orientation of this, it's just your preference. And the same deal, you've got to start two of them at a time. Since it's only two of them, it's not too bad. I might tighten them up a little bit because just so they don't come out on me. And you'll need a balls driver for these because it's got a little bit of an angle. Oops, too tight. What was I thinking? Let me get all the other T-nuts that I need to put in there before I put the other wheel plate on. Next step is to put all the T-nuts in place before we put this wheel plate on the other side. And I had just realized that I forgot to put 4 of the T-nuts where the carriage motor is. Since I'm using the real V-slot instead of the 3D printed one, I needed to put them in before I put those corners on there. But that's actually a fairly easy thing to fix on here. All I have to do is unscrew it from the threaded part and just pull it back a little bit and get them in there. The 3D printed ones, you don't have to worry about that because you can put them in there after the fact, just the way they're designed. So I was going to do this off camera and I accidentally turned this sideways and the BBs fell out, so y'all missed that on that. Let's see, so I'm going to put this on there temporarily just so the BBs don't come out. So I can turn it sideways. It's easier to do this part sideways. I'll just put a couple of screws in here to hold it temporarily. Those BBs are turning out to be more of a pain than they're worth. I don't know that they really do any good anyway. But. Now we can turn it sideways. Just move, since these aren't tight in there, it's easier to get them. So all you have to do is unscrew one side where it's connected to the threaded part. And since it's loose, this thing will slide down the V-slot. Because I didn't tighten those up yet. Try to put the longer screw in that one. So I think we need, let me get that part so I'll make sure I put it in there correctly. And so this is the front. And one thing I made a mistake on putting this together earlier in the subassembly is make sure your wiring is against that notched part. So that's the back of the motor there. I think it goes like that. It goes in the first two V-slots. So I need one there, another one there, another one there, and another one there. That takes care of that. Now we just put that back on there. Try that one again. This was the right length, I think. Okay. Well, actually, those two you could put on later, but these two you had to put on before to put those on there. So those actually might come out, but yeah, they probably will. So we'll take them back out. I know they're gonna fall out again. All right, let's put this back away over here. And also we want to put the carriage on there before we put this other wheel plate on also, because it's otherwise we'd have to take two wheels back off to put it on there. And which was and that's this side. There's not many tools needed to put this together. And we'll take these temporary screws back out again. those back off. Alright, now the carriage goes on the side that idler, that these idler pulleys are on each end. So you should have already put that one on there. And this is the top part. And this is just the carriage. I mean, this is something I made, but you could use any type of carriage on here. Alright, let's see if I can get all the T-nuts in the right place. So there's, most of them go on the top back where all the electronics goes. We got 2 for the controller board, two for the portable power supply, two for the wheel motor on the back. Oh, that's on the back. Two for the Raspberry Pi. Oh, yeah, and there was one for the limit switch for the wheel limit switch on the back. Thought that was 9, but I don't know what I got it. Make sure I don't turn this upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that was 9. Thought I'd counted out 9 on there, but guess I did not. So now we need 2 on the inside. I wrote this all down. Let's see if I. 2 on the inside for the motor, wheel motor as well. So there's 4 screws holding that motor to the V-slot. Alright. Now we'll need 2 most of the other ones are for the wheel nut. There's another one on the outside for the outside front that goes for the other limit switch. And then there'll be another one for the back wheel plate. Do this one for the back wheel. We'll do all the back wheel plates there. 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 Keep putting them backwards. And then the other one goes on the, this will be for the front main plate there. And that might be it. Let's see, it seems like I'm missing, I've got 2 other out there. I don't know if I missed something. Oh yeah, there's several for the bearing. The inside bearing goes, don't have a good view of that, but it's on the inside bottom. Right there. Actually need 2 more T-nuts. Not sure where those other T-nuts went to. I thought I had them all out. So there's another one. It's at the bottom there. It's bottom there. I think that's all of them. So got one there. You can always use the drop-in T-nuts later, but I prefer to have these type if I can help it. Alright, so make sure the belt is around the back wheel. So this is the back. It's mirrored from the front. You can tell from looking at the other end. It's off the camera right now. It's at the bottom, but I think that's all we needed on there before we put that in place. Let's just put a couple of screws in there temporarily. And we'll just slide all the T-nuts the other way, and then they'll go right in. And we don't have to worry about the BBs coming out anymore. It does make it more interesting with those in here. There, we just turn it upside down like gravity works for us. Too, I guess. It's kind of in the way, but and it's not too difficult to take that plate off if you missed a T-nut. Especially if you don't have the BBs in there. And you want to make sure that the V-slot is butted up against the back of that wheel plate. Since I put those screws in there, that pretty much made sure that it did it. Now that we can actually put this kind of sideways now, since we pulled all the T-nuts down, as long as we don't tilt it too much, it'll stay there. And we'll get the T-nuts all the way at the other end again, so it's easier to get those in place. Turn it upside down. Just be careful of that carriage hitting something bad, because it kind of sits on that. So we pull two of the T-nuts back down to the main wheel plate. Yep, and pull that one back down here. They come out of there. There it is. Alright, that's it for now. I'll start working on the other part of the assembly. Okay, the next thing we're going to put on are the two motors. This is the one for the carriage. It has two idler bearings in the front of it. And this is the one for the drives the M8 smooth rod shaft between the two wheel sets. And we didn't put that on the end of this other idler plate on the end of the other wheel plate, so we'll do that first. I guess it'll be easier this way. I have to take these screws out of the end. I don't know where my other 12 millimeter length screws were. And this goes on the front one, so just make sure it's on the same one as at the other end. And again, we're not going to tighten it all the way. We're going to tighten it up all the way up and just loosen it maybe just a little bit so we can tighten the belt easier. I've got this slotted here at the top, but it doesn't really, it's tough to pull that tight as I found. I think this is going to be a simpler way to do it. Okay. We'll swap those two, make them all the same. Which is the power. So this one's going on here. So we need 4 T-nuts and 2 for there as well, because we left those out. Well, we don't need them yet. That's the power supply that's going there. Let's see. So we need 2 for the Raspberry Pi at the other end. Make sure they're out of the way. And then the motor goes here. Then we have power supply, control board, and a limit switch. That should work. Let me get 6 more T-nuts. I was done with this piece of paper, but I guess I should keep it still as a guide. Make sure I put them in the right place. So 2 T-nuts there. 2 T-nuts here. As you can see, you can get the T-nuts in there after the fact on these 3D printed parts. Just separate them so I can line them up. And this goes, the bearings go next to the carriage. And if you line 2 of the T-nuts up, you just place the 2 screws in there. And we've already put the M5 by 12 millimeter length screws already in there. Those should go in quite easily. Actually, they might not. Oops. I don't want to tighten it all the way down. Actually, there might be a. Let's see if I got them located right. Looks right. And I'll just kind of center it in this little part. And I tighten them all the way down. And, oh yeah, I didn't tighten. This isn't tight. I guess we can go ahead and tighten that. I kind of marked it where I wanted it there. You have to tighten it from underneath though. Okay, that's in there. I kind of lined up where I want these, and don't think these are. Let's do these inside ones first. Let's get them parallel with each other, and then these screws should just. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Is that? Yeah, like that. Actually, I don't know. I think I may have had them set that way. They should butt right up against each other, I think. Let's see if that's right. Yep, that's right. It's not moving. Let's put them on there. Let's pull them out, get those inside ones first, because they're going to be the problem ones. I don't know why that wouldn't go. Just wanted me to redo that step, I guess. And there's nothing really magic about this location. I can tell you about where I have it located. Right there. So I've got this back beginning of this plate at 250 millimeters from the outside end, and that's 475 millimeters from the outside end. Of course, if you're using these V-slots, it might want different, but and you can adjust them to fit where you want them. It doesn't work well. Alright, now these are the bearings for the M8 smooth rod we're going to put in there next. You don't need those T-nuts yet. They're for the power supply. Oh, wait a minute, what are they for? Actually, I don't know that I need those. There's nothing in that one. Okay. I think we can just go ahead and tighten this one down too. So we got plenty of room to move it around. We just have to have some room to wiggle room here and there. That should be enough. So let's go ahead and set that in place. Where do I have it at? I have it starting at 120 millimeters from the end. Alright, now these will have to put from underneath, as I recall. And you want to kind of get the bearings as close to that motor as you can, it's just to take some strain relief off that. Let's see if I get the right. I think that's the right. See if I got that correct. That is not correct, is it? What is going on here? Oh, no, that is right. That's right. Oh, I'll have it all the way down. So I couldn't see through there. Actually, I've got that tight because I just taken this apart. We'll loosen that once we get the T-nuts in place. So this is the second one, so we want to make sure we put another T-nut on the other side of that for the other one. Same thing here, put this one on the other side, and this one goes there. So there was 2 T-nuts in those slots. And the same on the side, inside. Get the one out that way. Let's just do the bottom underneath before we mess with, before we're going putting the other T-nuts in. So that goes, we'll go like this so the bearing is closer to the motor. We'll adjust where this is once we get that. Oh, we can adjust it a little bit more once I get all these screws on there. I'll loosen it just a little bit because we're on this one more. Well, we're probably gonna move both of them. Alright, now we go put the other T-nuts in from the top, I think. This one's already lined up on the T-nut. I thought it was. There it goes. Tighten it and back it off a little bit so I can loosen it. On the T-nut where the screw comes in, if you put it right to the edge of the T-nut right to the edge of the plastic, it should line up, more or less. Now I just kind of move it a little bit because I know the belt is going to go here, so I have to have enough room. Because there's also a, we're going to wait and tighten that up after we put that on there, because that one's there's a timing pulley there. I'm not sure where that wants to go. I think actually I had it right. I got it lined up right there. Is that going to work? I think it's a little tight here. I had it right there before. I'm going to put it there. T-nut up with the edge. One went in. Where's that T-nut at? Stuck behind the motor. I had to push it out of the, push it with the magnetic wrench to get it out of there. Well, it wasn't stuck, it was just difficult to get to it right there. So I'm going to just tighten these all down. I think they're going to be good enough like right there. You kind of want to get it as close as you can to the timing. It's not critical at all. Okay, that's it. I've got to loosen these nuts a little bit. Doesn't take much to loosen them. Just those sliding back and forth. As we start off with the belt as close to the motor as possible. There you go. All right. Now I think we got to put the belt on there. Ready to put the belt and the M8 smooth rod on. We'll put the timing belt, the open loop timing belt on first. Okay, now we're going to put on the belt that runs the carriage back and forth. My belt for this 1 meter length V-slot, because I'm using 1 meter long 20 by 40 V-slot, I'm going to use, it came out to about a little less than 2.3 meters. So you need probably 3 meters of belt for this. So we'll start off by just catching it on the carriage to start with, just on one side. And the long end goes onto the outside of the carriage. I just put a couple things on there, and I've got these little 3D printed clips to hold it in place. So you could use zip ties if you prefer. These work pretty good for me. I like to use the PLA Plus, especially on these, because the PLA Plus has a little bit of flex to it, and these will go on there nice like that. I just put 2 on each side just to give it double protection. Now we'll just run it around the carriage. Just kind of get it all the way to the end first. We'll get the correct orientation of it after we get it a little further along. Actually, we don't need to go through that one yet. You can just kind of loop back. This is the one that's make sure we got it right first before we go wrong. sure it's not tangled. The teeth of the belt go against the teeth of the pulley, of course. Catch the teeth. This one just, that might be off camera. If I can get this so it's really viewable well. I just kind of loop it like that around the back. Catch that. If you remember, I had this loose, so that'll help to tighten up the belt later. Yeah, we'll move it back around so. This goes the same way. The loose end is on the inside. And just kind of tighten as you can, get as tight as you can get, hand tight. Then clip the teeth together. Kind of slide on there a little bit. But you got one on there, the other one to go. And I've probably got this, I could cut a little bit more off of this belt, I guess. A little bit extra helps you to pull on it a little easier. And once you got the clips all the way down there, you can kind of press them against each other. They'll kind of slide, but maybe not. Thought I would. No, that's good like that. And now we'll tighten up those two ends and see if that tightens the belt more. Yeah, tightened it some more already. I'll do the other one. Yeah, that's tight enough. It's around all the pulleys, correctly. And you can look at the assembly drawing to see if this is not clear how it all goes together. Now all we're ready to do is put the M8 smooth rod on there. Okay, now we're ready to put the M8 smooth rod on here, and you could also use a M8 lead screw or a 5/16 threaded rod to the length of the machine you have. And this is the exact same length as my V-slot, so it won't go outside these back plates. So we got the M8 smooth rod. We've got these 3 timing pulleys with an 8mm bore, and I'm using 20 teeth pulleys. So that gives me 20 teeth to the 80 teeth. It's a 4:1 ratio on the gearing. And I have this one closed loop timing pulley, 152 teeth that goes on the motor, and we'll go ahead and just put that in place. And that's one thing you want to make sure that you have to put these things on as you go along. And for some reason this one's in the wrong place again. I don't know why. Let me try that again. Well, I'll just take it off. Doesn't matter how careful I am, I always miss something. It's correct on the other side because that's the one I didn't put back together. has to be on the other side of the way, otherwise it'd be in the way of the pulley. Yeah, this isn't very difficult to move around though. Just takes a little more time, and the part you see the gear or the bearing goes against the of course the B slot right there does make it a little bit more challenging. How many wrong ways could I put this back together again? And we'll tighten it up just a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to put that in here. So we start with the rod at one end, and grab one pulley, and you also want to get the belt in the right way. You also have to have this belt around that pulley. So kind of stick the pulley into place to begin with, I guess. Well, that's not gonna work. We'll just get it started and then we'll just make sure it's not through the. So we'll just put it to the edge of there, and we'll put the belt on. It's not that difficult, but just you want to kind of bend it in maybe a little bit if you can. But instead, it wasn't difficult. Oh, let's see. Let's take it off the. For those to begin with. Gives me more room to work. There we go. And once we get it through that bearing, we'll. I swear I cannot get this straight. I certainly should have made that symmetrical there, so I don't make that, never have to make that mistake. Not doing it now. All right, top part wants to be like that. So, well, I guess we can kind of actually get it through the bearing and kind of hold it in place. There we go. Alright, I couldn't find where my lug nuts were. It's easier to get on there without that belt in the way. That's not too bad. Now I know I can tighten it down a little bit this time. I'm going to tighten just a little bit. Let's start. Alright, so we got that belt, and this will go around their wheel easy there. So if you start it with off the wheel to begin with, it's a lot, gives you more room to move it. And so get ready for the next one. I'll move this around a little bit. Go through the next bearing. And you want to have the teeth, the body side this way, so it's closer to the bearing. Well, it doesn't matter because the other one's not very, it's kind of a ways away from, oops. Actually, it might be better to do it the other way. Gotta make sure you're around the There we go. Just like that. If you can see it. I'm going to go through the other bearing, get the other tooth ready, and we got and this is the back of the machine. I got the back towards the camera. So we take that off there to begin with so we can have more room again. Go through that bearing. It wants to go this way because it's closer to the teeth or close to that plate. Make sure you put the belt around it. I've forgotten to do that once or twice. It should be, this rod should be about flush with the back of that. Yeah. And then put this around the teeth. Now we're ready to start tightening up the grub screws. Not the grub screws, but not them first. We'll tighten up the bearing plates first. Let's see if I can get this out. Just going to hit that no matter what. So we'll start at this end, and I've got these little 3D printed parts. This one will fit between there and there. Just kind of presses down, and it centers that M8 rod right where it needs to be. Tighten the outside one first. This one might be a little since I'm using a different, might would be better to move this a little further back, but I'll see if I could do it like that. And there's still room to get to that nut with the belt there. I'm not sure we can get to it from underneath, it looks like. So this probably should have been moved a little further to the center to give me a little bit more room. the center two bearings. They're from these lock nuts are on the bottom side. Should be able to just get them by feel. Get the carriage out of the way so I can get to this one. Ready for the last two wheel blades. These will have corrects. Down there and that one there. And make sure that the belts are on the teeth, all the teeth correctly. These plates should end up centered on that slot. Alright, now we just have to tighten up all the grub screws in your little 20-tooth pulley. Should have come with one. So just make sure it's kind of lined up with the parallel with the drive wheel. Rotate it. Get the other one. Come to the center, same thing here. Rotate it so you can see the other one. Tighten that one. Last one, and that's pretty well. It pretty much finds its own center there anyway once you tighten it. The wheels turn, so I gotta pick it up a little bit so it doesn't move on me. Okay, and I think that's it for the mechanical assembly. All we have to do is put the electronics on there now. Okay, now it's time for the electronics. I'm using a MKS Gen V 1.4 board with a Raspberry Pi running clipper and a do-it-yourself portable power supply with where I can put Ryobi batteries in it and two limit switch boards. I have an MKS DLC 32 board. I'm going to try and get fluid NC on it, but right now this is what I'm going to use. So this is just a matter of just bolting everything down, getting all the T-nuts in the right spot. So let's see, I'm at the far This is the close end here, I'm sorry, close end. So I need those for the power supply, those for the controller board, these for the PI. Alright, put the PI on there first. And I have all the screws already inserted in these, and these should be all M5 by 12 millimeter lengths. These might be a little different like this because I did this quite a while back. I put the electronics towards the inside just to give a little bit of protection. And you can always put an enclosure on these boards to make it, if you're going to use it outside or something, it's probably a good idea to give a little bit more protection. So let's see, let's get those over there. Let's see if I can get all these lined up right. I might get them close. I think I got them lined up to see. And I want these to this side because of the controller board connecting there. And this V-slot I might would move a little bit further to center to give me more room to put those banana cables in. Cables with banana connectors, I think that's what they're called. Oh, I'm lined up. Pretty good, looks like. Okay, that's on there. Oops, where the bolts fell out. These T-nuts are a lot easier to go in when they're right on top, when you can see everything. See, this probably needs to go as close to the edge as possible. I think. As long as I got room to put this in there. This is the one for the wheel axis. If I get this close to the center of the camera. There's the T-nut for that. I made it so it cleared the wheel plate in the back so I could move it far that way. And where's the T-nut for this one? There it is. It's still down here. This is the end stop for the carriage. I have kind of labeled this on there because I know about where I made it so the carriage got as much room as I could to get that switch. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and hook this up so you can see what the power supply looks like. I'll hook this up before I put the battery in. And there's an on-off switch for this one. This little device came from AliExpress. Let's see. Then you get the on. I get 12.07 volts. I set it a little bit higher than 12, but just a hair. And you can see the board powered up. I think you can see it. And that's it for that assembly. I think that's all of the assembly. Not sure. All I have to do is the wiring. All you have to do is hook up the motors and end stops to that and start running it.